What is good, guys? Welcome back to the channel. But if you are new, my name is Rory Gissing, your IFBB pro, helping you bring your physique to the next level. Today's video, we're going to get stuck straight into essentially a back masterclass. So how to bring your back up to the next level. We're not just talking about doing a few pull-ups and calling it a day. We're going to get into, how to develop your lats for a wider back, your mid traps or lower traps and rhomboids to get that thickness and depth, and just the incredible sort of carved out chiseled back look, which incorporates a lot of the muscles in the upper back. Then we're going to get into also the lower lats and spinal erectors to give that thick depth and 3D look, bringing a full V-taper. Bringing that full V-taper for a completed look. So grab your notebook, hit that like button, and let's just get straight into it. Let's start with what most people are probably looking for, which is just getting that wide, flaring lats. Your upper lats we're talking about specifically because your lats are actually kind of divided into two sections. You have your upper lats giving you your width, and then your lower lats give you the entire sweep, where not only does it give your back some thickness, but it completes the sweeping lats that looks like they're gonna bow straight into your hips and not just have two little bow ties at the top of your back there. So generally, developing your lats for width is going to be most of your vertical pulling movements. So we're looking at the lat pull downs or pull-ups and all of its variations, but I would say sort of hand position and therefore elbow position is key for really targeting those upper lat fibers, because mainly the upper lat fibers are actually positioned vertically, whereas the lower lat fibers are positioned a bit more horizontally. So you want your upper lats is pretty much going to be any vertical pulling down. So talking about the hand positions, I would generally say a neutral grip is going to be a little bit more biased to your upper lats, whereas having that wide grip lat pull down is actually going to hit a lot of the upper back just because of the amount of scapular work that's going to be involved just to perform that lift. I personally prefer doing the single arm over double arm just because I can get into position a little bit better and just line up the machine to my personal body mechanics a lot better when I do it with single arm. I can get a better stretch, but the limitation factor to that is now we probably have to set up something that's outside of the lat pull down. You can use a bench in a cable stack, or if you're lucky enough to have one of the machines to do single arm, you can do that as well. Or something like a high row as well is also very good for targeting those upper lats. Now, when I say it's a vertical pull, a lot of the machines isn't going to be directly above your heads. It's going to be ever so slightly in front of you. And again, it just lines up your body mechanics a little bit better to pull with your lats and not have as much sort of the upper back take over, all the musculature that's in the upper back take over, which you'll find if you're doing a bit more of a wide grip or if you're like directly overheads, because again, the more the scapula is involved in the scapular sort of movement pattern, as more of that is involved, the more upper back you're using. Whereas if you can just lock your scapula down, so suppress your shoulders down and just try to really focus on bringing your elbow essentially from above your head to your hip, that is going to be hitting the lats right in the sweet spot. Another great exercise for your lats is the straight arm pullover. It can be known as a straight arm pull down, but I much prefer to call it pullover because a pull down is very confusing. It's a completely different exercise to a lat pull down. So it's the movements that can drive through your elbow from above your head, in keeping it in front of the body and driving it down into pretty much your hips. Now, pull-ups do still hit your lats quite well, but it also recruits a lot more muscles in your back just because, again, you're using a lot of scapular and scapular stability when you pull sort of around your body. That way, instead of coming down and through with your elbow being in front of your body, it is just a matter of just sort of trying to isolate the lats versus a non-isolated movement. Both do still hit the lats, but if you're gonna train lats specifically, if you really wanna work on the width, I would say try to isolate your lats a little bit more and keep your elbow in front of the body. Now, middle and upper back is where you get to see all of the detail and the separation throughout your back. And I think people sleep on this the most when it comes to back training. They just want really big, wide lats, and then they want huge sort of spinal erectors, but then all of the small musculature in your middle and upper back is where all the detail comes through, and it just brings just a wow factor when it comes to you just turning around. So by simply switching your grip from a neutral grip where you can really isolate your lats into a pronated grip, you're gonna naturally want to lift the weight differently. So you are actually gonna arc slightly more around. Even keeping your elbows in front of the body, it's still gonna have a bit more of scapular involvement, I find. So all the muscles surrounding that scapula and sort of that mid and upper back area, that is going to be hit a lot more harder when using pronated grip. So just a standard lat pull down, even if it's shoulder width apart, doesn't even have to be a wide grip, just a shoulder width apart, is going to be hitting a lot more upper back. Now, to work on everything that's between the shoulder blades, so you know, your lower traps and rhomboids, it's going to be swapped into a bit more of a horizontal row. So your bent over rows, your T-bar rows, chest supported rows, anything like that is going to be targeting a little bit more of that middle back thickness, which is also, like I said, important for bringing out the back detail. Now, the lats can still be hit pretty hard when you go to do your horizontal rows, and to have a little bit more bias into that upper back and middle back, then I would just suggest to keep your elbows somewhat more flared. The more you tuck your elbows down, it's gonna activate your lats a bit more. The more you bring your elbows up and flare your elbows, that's going to be really working on the middle back and upper back. So you can add cable rows into your program as well to try and target those areas. But I find with cable rows, you're naturally more inclined to keep your elbow closer to your body and not really flare it upwards. So depending on the cable row machine you're using, it's probably one of the sort of, unless it's your only option, I would opt for the T-bar row, bent over rows, any sort of chest supported rows, just because again, you're more stable and you can really focus on keeping your elbows where they're supposed to be. But you don't want to avoid training your lower lats at the same time. Like I said in the intro, you want to have a full sweeping lat that looks like it's tying straight into your hips and not just full short, and you have this sort of only half a torso where you have your V-taper and then you have a long waist. It kind of takes away from the look a little bit. You want to have your lats as sweeping as far down your body as possible. So your lower lats do need to be trained quite well. So like I mentioned earlier, the lower lats are very well trained when you keep your elbow slightly tighter to your body. Again, it's a good stretch, and then really focusing on bringing your elbows to your hips. Now I prefer, again, using a neutral grip for anything with your lower lats. So I guess neutral grip is key for both upper lats and lower lats. That's just for me, that's just the way my body mechanics work. But I also think that will be the case for the vast majority of people as well. So keeping a neutral grip also helps control the direction of your elbow. You don't want it coming up too high, you don't want it flaring. You want to keep it nice and tucked in when you drive it down into your hip. So a cable row is one of my favorite exercises for the lower lats for that reason. It just naturally lines up with the body mechanics. Again, any kind of horizontal row is what you're going to be looking for your lower lats. You can do it with a vertical row, but it's a bit more complicated. You have to be very switched on with your mind-muscle connection, and body angles are going to come into it a bit more. For the vast majority of the audience watching this video, then I would say it's probably better sticking to a horizontal row to target your lower lats, just because, like I say, it's a little bit more complicated and it's almost a video on its own on how to target your lower lats when doing a vertical pull, well, any kind of vertical row, I guess. Moving on to lower back and spinal erectors, I do find probably the best exercise for your spinal erectors and lower back is going to be more of a isometric form of training them, because deadlifts I find are just simply superior to the vast majority of anything else out there. A few of you might be thinking, how is a deadlift isometric training? Well, it's specifically for your spinal erectors, let's not forget. So of course, there's going to be lengthening and contracting of muscles involved with the deadlift, but your back shouldn't really do anything other than stay neutral. You can be flexed, but I would say a neutral back when a deadlift is probably your safest method and best practice, and just doing that can build the spinal erectors a lot. So you can do, you know, a few more good mornings, but again, a good morning, you're not really bending from your spine, you're bending from your hips. And even with some spinal flexion, doing a loaded spinal flexion has been shown to have a much higher risk for back injuries. So just keeping your back neutral while picking up some big weights off the floor is shown to be enough to stimulate some pretty good growth with the spinal erectors. And I think that is, stick to that, just because you don't want the injury. You just don't want the injury. You know, in hindsight, you probably would have thought, probably shouldn't have done that. Now, with all of that in mind, The absolute key to bringing up your back is going to be in the stretch of the exercise. People do stop short a lot of the time when it comes to training back. The absolute key is to be fully stretched before you start the movement. If you have watched this video so far, I'm hoping that you've understood that there's a lot of different muscles in the back. And so I think mind-muscle connection is actually very important when it comes to trying to focus on specific areas in your back. So doing a lot of warm-ups and just really connecting to the muscle before you do your working set, I think will also bring your training to the next level. And let me know in the comments which areas you are trying to focus on the most. And if you've done everything I've spoken about in this video, again, drop me a message and I'll see if I can go into some further details with you to help bring that area up. If you found this breakdown helpful, or if you just enjoy these kind of educational videos, please do hit that like button and let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching. Stay consistent, train smart, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.